If you're anything like me, you grew up with an Xbox 360 and Call of Duty. Back in the day, the thing to do was get together with your boys and your sick clan and play Call of Duty until your eyes bleed. Shout out to my boys in Shift Clan, make sure y'all leave a comment so I know you're still alive and hitting no scopes. But now it seems like almost everyone has moved on, right? It's not as culturally relevant as it was back then. You can't scroll on iFunny and see dumb COD teabagging memes anymore. Well, except for that one video.
You really dream anyone else?
And this confuses me because the sales for the game aren't exactly terrible. So what gives, Vondi? Did Fortnite and Battle Royale kill the magic MW2 lobbies we miss so dearly? Or was it the awful shit-stained business practices that companies like Infinity Ward, Sledgehammer, and Treyarch have implemented into their games? I was a curious George, so I dug deeper into that banana, and this is what I found. Back in 1999, there was a little thing invented called Me, thanks for not but also Quake 3. Quake 3 was made with the ID Tech 3 engine, which is also responsible for games like Star Wars Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy, and Return to Castle Wolfenstein. But it also helped create a little game titled Call of Duty in 2003. Infinity Ward made this, and it was a World War II multiplayer shooter. And this was kind of the norm back then. You really couldn't go out for a nice walk without getting pestered by some new World War II shooting simulator. So how did this one stand out? Well, to start, this game was made in a studio with only 21 employees. Holy shit, Pokemon, take some fucking notes. Not only that, but the game was just really enjoyable. It was much easier for newer players to pick up the game and play. The barrier to entry was nearly non-existent. It was received very positively and spiked its $4.5 million budget, earning $29.6 million by 2006. This game also featured 3 separate campaigns depending on what propaganda you wanted to be shoved into your pussy, which is something I didn't actually know until researching for this video. After this success, we got 2 more titles, COD 2 and 3, adding regenerative health in 2 and more modes for multiplayer in 3, the latter of the 2 being passed off to developer Treyarch to allow for longer dev times. The features may seem somewhat dumb or simplistic, but back in the day, these were huge changes to the gameplay experience. The developers were starting to figure shit out here. They were cooking, and cooking what began, in my opinion, the beginning of the Call of Duty golden era. In 2007, Infinity Ward made Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. This game broke away from the World War II simulator and thrust us into a hyperbolized modern political thriller. It says it right in the fucking title. No more old shit, we're getting modern now. This was a super fresh shift in the experience that had started to get a bit moldy after 3 games of that setting. Not only was this game a smashing commercial success, boasting sales of over 15.7 million copies by the end of its lifespan, but it also had a long-lasting and profound impact on the entire first-person shooter genre. Putting this game in the modern era helped to tap into the political and social zeitgeist and helped to add a ton of depth and relevance, making it a lot more relatable to players at the time. This also bolstered the game's campaign, which was the best in the series yet. This campaign was a lot more cinematic and had a lot of super intense action sequence. Even on veteran difficulties, the game really never felt unfair, except for this stupid fucking level.
Sometimes I make it to the second! Fuck, god damn it! Fuck this shit!
The missions were diverse and showcased better gameplay and writing, with characters like Captain Price and Soap McTavish becoming huge video game icons. The crowning achievement of this game for me, though, was its massively upgraded multiplayer. This game introduced customizable loadouts, progression systems, and kill streaks, allowing the multiplayer to have much more depth and replayability. Maybe going back to this game in current times after first-person shooter games in general have been polished with newer modifications could make this game feel washed or old, but at the time, this was a technical achievement. The graphics were remarkable, the sound design was gorgeous, and the gameplay was nearly seamless. This is really where Call of Duty started to establish itself as a fucking juggernaut in the gaming sphere, and is still considered one of, if not the best in the series. After this big success, it was Treyarch's turn to hop into the kitchen and make their chicken parm this go around. Treyarch said, yeah, that whole modern thing you got going on is sick and all, but we going back to World War II, baby! Woo! Fuck the Nazis! Oh shit, I dropped my water bottle. World at War said fuck all that modern shit and took us back to the World War II shooter genre. This game was a slight step back from Modern Warfare for me, with the campaign specifically being slightly forgettable. This game set itself apart from the other World War II CODs by focusing on the Pacific front rather than the European front. This entry took a lot of the Modern Warfare formula and copied it onto its game. While I think this was a weaker entry, this game did do very well, was received positively, and added some key features to the game like the Zombies mode, which was a horde mode shooter that eventually would become a major pillar in the Call of Duty series. Besides the zombies though, this game did not add much to help it stand out from its predecessors. And while I didn't care for this game in general, it didn't take long for Call of Duty to jump back into cooking some classics. In 2009, the ball was back in Infinity Ward's court, and they were planning the dunk of a lifetime. Modern Warfare 2 was released and instantly achieved super banger status. It's such a standout title in the series for so many reasons. The campaign is gripping to say the least, and maybe a bit controversial due to a select mission where you have to open fire on a crowd of civilians in an airport, which is unhinged shit to put in a fucking video game. Otherwise, this was an incredible story and featured one of the coolest Call of Duty villains yet or since, Makarov, and finishes with a knockout ending. To accompany the incredible campaign, we also received the Spec Ops mode, which added an additional 23 missions that could be played co-op, which was absolute fire at the time. The multiplayer was more refined than ever. This multiplayer was straight up fucking chaos. The maps were uneven and strangely designed, funneling players into certain sections and causing mass hysteria. Meme upon meme was created with this fucking game, like this.
Okay. Oh! Oh my god! Oh! Oh my fucking god! Oh! Oh! Get this fucking... Oh! No! Get the camera! Money! Money! Oh my god!
This also came out around the time when YouTube started to become the giant it is, thrusting a large number of Call of Duty creators and esports athletes onto the scene. A lot of people still consider this to be the best in the series, which is fully understandable. This is an amazing game, but I think they had even more in the tank. Although Black Ops had a few technical issues, it was still fun as hell. The campaign was a lot darker in tone, maybe not as dark as euthanizing civilians in an airport, but pretty dark for the series. This game remains one of the highest selling Call of Duties ever made. This is due to a nice trifecta of great multiplayer, a wonderful crafted zombie mode, and a captivating story. The way the story kind of weaves together the interrogation with the flashbacks makes the game genuinely thrilling to progress through. The zombie mode was better than ever as well, giving us some bangers like Kino der Torten and the Mystery Box. Plus, the multiplayer started to see the rise of popular esports teams and content creators that shaped the games moving forward, for better or for worse. As for Modern Warfare 3, I don't know much about this game other than Drop Zone, which is fun. I'm sorry, I feel bad. I don't have much insight on this game. It's Modern Warfare 2 again, but forgive me because the next game is quite possibly my favorite in the entire series. Black Ops 2 will go down as not only my favorite Call of Duty, but what I think is widely considered the definitive go-to Call of Duty experience. I think I put over 5,000 hours into this game, and I could probably go 1v1 versus FaZe Rain in his prime. Treyarch had the formula down pat for games that took place in the past, but this one did the complete opposite and positioned itself in the future, which was a bold risk for the company. Dude, everyone loved this game. Twitter, me, my friends, and of course Avenged Sevenfold. Not only was this my favorite Call of Duty, but one of the earliest memories I had buying a game with my own money, which made it that much sweeter. While I've always preferred the multiplayer aspect of most of the Call of Duties, this was one of the more standout stories for sure, but not quite as good as its predecessor. Despite this, it still did a few cool things, like having a branching storyline that changed the story depending on decisions you made, which was starting to become a larger and larger trend. Plus, it also featured these RTS-ass missions that I was shit at, but helped to break up the tedium of most of the linear missions. I hear a lot of people say the zombie mode was a little step back, but I heavily disagree. I think the large scale of transit made the mode more exciting, and also a bit horrifying. But really where this game shows itself off is its outstanding multiplayer. The gunplay had never been sharper, and is still tight to this day, which is fucking crazy considering this game came out when I was 12 years old. The maps were all bangers, especially Hijacked, Raid, and Standoff. Most of these maps were condensed pretty well, which allowed the matches to feel like actual high-octane war zones. One of my favorite parts of the game was grinding to get the diamond camos on my gun, which I successfully did for snipers and shotguns. The esports scene erupted with this game, and it's really where I got into esports. One of my favorite esports moments was this one where Optic Scumpy clutched the end of this match against Envy and went absolutely ballistic.
It's got to be at least a 40 bomb. 45 and 22. Scumpy went off that game, and he's so hyped.
Dude, this shit still gives me chills to this day. Now, a lot of this could be, and probably is, a hefty IV of nostalgia talking, but I say, fuck that IV. This is a fantastic game, and unfortunately, one of the last ones where it felt like they cared. Now that I've spent a substantial amount of time setting up why the series was so beloved and popular, I need to do the part of this video that I really don't want to do. To say the series was at an all-time high with Black Ops 2 would be a colossal understatement. This game was everywhere, and maybe the high praise the game received kinda set the fans up for unrealistic expectations moving forward. Call of Duty Ghosts was released in 2013 to some pretty negative reviews. Not really due to any scummy business practices, but more or less because this wasn't even your average Call of Duty game. This one was just a mess. The campaign was pretty forgettable for me, considering the only thing I remember about it was the dog. But obviously where my time was spent with this game was the multiplayer, which was one of the most insufferable multiplayers yet. The two issues I have with this game were the maps and the colors. Okay, colors might seem like a huge nitpick, and I get that, I really do, but this will make sense. Just hear me out. The game is very gray and just blah. Not that I need the game to be super bright and colorful, but players always kind of melted into the maps, which made this game super camp heavy and slow paced. Not to mention, eventually you could unlock a ghillie suit, which just melted people into the maps even more. And oh yeah, speaking of maps, these ones were just too damn big. These maps were fucking massive, which just added to its slow-paced nature. It also had a zombie-esque mode that, again, was pretty forgettable, but I mean, my dad played it a lot, so I guess that's 1 point for Ghosts. But this game isn't super bad or whatever. Like, yeah, it looks and runs fine, but you are literally coming off of the fastest game in the series. Like, what did you expect the reaction to be? It was so bad that I remember people just abandoning it and going back to Black Ops 2 and Modern Warfare 3. And, you know, perhaps we were, and I am, being too hard on this game because, holy shit, if Ghosts was a disappointment, I have no idea what the fuck you call Advanced Warfare. This is where the series really started to show its cracks. The campaign was garbage. AI hand-holding, unfun, forgettable bullshit. Like, if Kevin Spacey wasn't in this game, would anyone have even given a shit about it? Oh, and the whole F meme. But the story isn't even my problem with the game. The game had some improvements over Ghosts, like the game being a lot brighter overall and recondensing the maps to make things a bit snappier. Additionally, I know the double jump mechanic kinda pissed some people off, but after several years of run and gun gameplay, I didn't mind this at all so much. I just wish it was better. The real issue I have with the game is the unlock system. In the old games, no matter your skill or level, you had a chance to keep up with people who have been playing the game for longer than you. The unlock systems gave you small advantages without making you explicitly better than other players. Now, obviously, with a game of this nature, there are gonna be metas, and some guns and skills are gonna be better than others. But with how fast leveling up was, it was always swiftly attainable. This game went, shit, okay, y'all like gambling, or? The way you unlock guns in this game was via stupid, dumb fuck loot boxes, which is really just what killed this game. Basically, there would be a weapon which had several variants to them adjusting their stats. So, for example, I remember a gun that a lot of people were clamoring for was the Doctor. This was a sniper rifle that had slightly lower damage but fired twice as fast as the normal variant. This may seem like a reasonable risk versus reward situation, but with the deadly nature of sniper rifles, you were still most likely gonna die in one shot anyway, and a shot that comes out very rapidly. I had the doctor, and yeah, I always felt like shit using it because it was so much better. Because of this really dumb, asinine decision, this game had no semblance of balance, allowing people who get lucky on loot boxes to just be blatantly better than everyone else. Plus, you know, maybe this game looked better, but it had so many technical fucking issues on launch that was just beautifully paired with some shit-ass matchmaking. This game was a huge stain on the series and began the beginning of the decline for the series. And for me, Advanced Warfare was pretty much the nail in the coffin. I was pretty much done with the series after this. Black Ops 3 seemed to be kind of the last mostly liked game in the series, generally refining the jetpack ability, but the game after, Infinite Warfare, still boasts one of the most disliked videos on YouTube ever. COD sales were plummeting. The series lost its touch and didn't really know what it wanted to be, which is kind of the issue you run into when you hand a series off to 3 entirely different developers. This is kind of the Star Wars sequel paradox, where there are too many people working on the game, so there's no clear vision for the series. You got too many cooks in the kitchen, bro. Now, what are the issues with the series I mentioned? Well, I think there are just 2 main issues that they created: inaccessibility and bad business practices. As I've mentioned a few times in this motion picture, Call of Duty lent itself pretty well to the average gamer, meaning if you picked up the game, it was pretty simple to get in, figure shit out, and drop a few kill streaks. Later, in the fated quest to try to keep the series fresh by adding new gameplay mechanics, they kinda made it difficult for anyone that wasn't a super FPS nerd to pick up the game and play. Like, what the fuck is a slide cancel? What happened to just drop shotting or jump shotting? This heavily increased the barrier to entry into the series, which was a huge killer for an already rapidly declining series. To pair with this, they just continued to make horrible business decisions like the fuck-ass loot boxes. Now, am I mad at them for doing this? Yeah, a little, but I get it. The amount of revenue that digital goods can provide to a game is huge, which may be a crutch in keeping the series alive.
Sorry, add-on content is not only significant, it is the majority of their digital revenue.
That's crazy. The majority. I mean, like, really think about that. That's very important, that the add-on content is the majority of the revenue. That's why you see it in every video game.
It's more than the cost of the games themselves, digital and physical combined.
Man.
Yeah, it ranges from 50 to 69%. Nice. Of their games revenue by quarter.
But the issue with these blatant predatory microtransactions is they are in a fully priced game. There's such a weird disconnect seeing these weird-ass skins, 21 Savage, Nicki Minaj, like, they don't have any effect to the gameplay, but still take me out of the game itself. Like, these games have no fucking identity. Now that all of this is out of the way, tell me why I would play Call of Duty, which has a super short lifespan, when Fortnite is free and still updating. When I can play Overwatch, that is also free, and maybe it's shitty now, but still a considerable upgrade over Call of Duty. Call of Duty didn't have as much competition back then. It was kind of Call of Duty or Halo if you wanted to play an FPS. Now, there are hundreds of FPSs worth your money over Call of Duty. When a game is released with the same maps, mechanics, and guns with just a few extra sprinkles and charges me $70 again, yeah, I get a little pissy. You know, will this series ever see a return to form? Honestly, I hope they just kind of close the chapter on this series. It feels like a weird toxic relationship, and one that I hope people can step away from to try all the new exciting series that we've been treated to at the same time. Sorry, Call of Duty. It's over.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's no national underground thunderbound when I stop the ground. Like a million elephants, a silverback orangutan, you can't stop the train. Who wants some, don't come run, prepared, I'll be there.